Good afternoon. Welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of Tullahoma. I'm the chairman, Paul Schwer, and at this time I'll call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum, having 6 present. Absent is Mr. Bill Comer and Miss Bobby Wilson. 5 present. I'm sorry, 5 present, with 2 absences. All right. At this time, I'd like us to rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Read and approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission held on August 21st, 2023. Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. Mr. Hall, second from Mr. Sellers. Comments? All right. All in favor of the admission of the minutes as written? Aye. Aye. Opposed? And abstained? All right, motion passes 5-0. General public comments and items not on the agenda. At this time, I'd like to invite anyone from the general public to come forth and speak on any items in the purview of the Planning Commission that are not on the current agenda in front of us. You're given 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. All right, seeing none. Reports from officers and staff. Mr. Rush.
Yes, thank you. Ordinance 1603 passed both readings. It was C2 to C3 at 100 block of New Rock Creek Road. 1604 and 1605, that was 409 East Warren Street and East Lauderdale, both passed their first readings. Text Amendment 1606 that dealt with home occupation passed its first reading. The new BOMA representative will be Alderman Wilson, will replace Alderman Allmacher. Alderman Berry has resigned, and the mayor is taking his seat back on the Planning Commission. October 2nd at 5:30, there'll be a special BOMA call. It will talk about moratorium sign ordinance and the update from the CPDC that is joint with the Planning Commission. Also, a couple things to take out of the agenda for this one would be the Rutledge Crossing. Coffee County have not actually gone out there and looked at it, and so we're needing some clarification on that, and of course the Vogue Towers updated site plan.
All right, thank you. The special call meeting on October 22nd, or
October 2nd.
October 2nd is you said it was joint with the Planning Commission. Yep. Is that a study session?
That is a special call meeting.
Okay.
When did you say that is?
October 2nd.
5:30.
We're not having one this Wednesday?
We are not. That got canceled.
Okay. Have we got an echo coming from the TV or is the volume up on the TV or something?
I don't know who to get for that. Sorry.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to old business. Planned unit development public hearing. This is a public hearing, so this is for planned unit development, a planned mixed use district, creating 350 single lots, 326 townhome units, and 320 multifamily units on 182 acres, with a commercial district located along North Jackson. Applicant is Beacon Acquisitions LLC. I'd like to invite This is a public hearing, so I'd like to invite the applicant to come forth first and speak on this project, and then we will open the public hearing. So you're recognized.
Good evening. My name is Chris Rudd. I represent Beacon Acquisitions, and we're excited to once again be here this evening presenting Summerlin, the mixed-use PUD located just down the road on North Jackson Street. We have made some changes since our last presentation last month. We have heard significant feedback from the residents of the Ledford Mill area, And at their request, we have agreed to close off the entrance point on Ledford Mill Road and then the associated development on that finger of our property that extends down to Ledford Mill Road. We sent a new site plan to Mr. Rush, and I believe we've got that here tonight to show as a visual. So that is a change that has come from our discussions with the Ledford Mill area residents. Otherwise, everything else is as presented previously. Happy to address any questions that you all may have.
Question, since you eliminated that finger off of there, is that going to reduce the number of single-family dwellings?
It doesn't, we've not suggested a change in density. We have some extra space internally where we can fold those in, so we'd like to keep our density, but yes, we are moving it internal. So the homes that were shown along that finger, if you will, it was one side of the road, have been moved internal.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing, so I'd like to invite anyone from the public that wants to come speak on this to come forth.
All right. My name's Brad Holt. I live at 101 Garland Crest Court South, and I was the author of a petition relating to the Summerlin development. But I plan on reading that petition here tonight, but in light of what Mr. Rudd just talked about, I thought it was better to provide a response instead. So myself and two other petitioners had a call with Mr. Rudd last Thursday evening to express our concerns directly. We found him to be very sympathetic and receptive to what we had to say, expressing a strong desire to understand our community and its citizens' concerns so that he could build the development in a way that harmonized with what we currently have. So he's doing that. So he offered to eliminate the area that was shown. I was prepared to talk to it here, but do you have a chart we could show that?
Yeah, can we go to production, please?
It was roughly 7 acres, but it's not shown on here, but where it was projected, came down to Ledford Mill Road. And that was what was concern number one for many of the petitioners. So he also committed not to physically expand any further than presently shown, which was another key concern. So as to the city level issues such as schools and key thoroughfares like Cedar Lane, I've attended planning commission meetings and learned that these issues have been recognized, willing to trust that the city officials will develop reasonable solutions within physical and budgetary constraints, considering broad input from citizens and other key stakeholders. So as much as some of us would prefer to see things stay the same and not risk losing any of the city's charm, Tullahoma has to address the growth demands in front of us. So the location shown to me is a good place to put it compared to lesser roads such as Avoca, Short Springs, or Ledford Mill. Recognizing all these interests and having learned Mr. Rudd's intentions, experience, and offer to protect the rural aspects of our community, both he and the city of Tullahoma have my short-term and long-term support for the Summerlin project. As to my fellow petitioners, I did my best to reach out to each of you personally on this matter. Of the 123 signees, I talked personally with the majority of you and felt that everyone thought this was a reasonable and fair outcome of the petition. So with that, I plan on letting the petition rest where it is, and we'll be glad to answer any questions or concerns privately. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holt, and I appreciate your tenacity to this.
Thank y'all. Very open-minded.
Matthew Bird, 1562 Ledford Mill Road. I had also come prepared with some clear language of what the residents of the Ledford Mill community weren't happy with, helped gather signatures for the petition, and spent time researching the Tullahoma Comprehensive Plan to cite where we expected our quality of life to be reasonably protected. I'm happy to say that Mr. Rudd has heard our complaints and addressed them in such a way that all of the signers of the petition that we were able to contact in a short notice were happy with the outcome. I feel as though the petition did its job so that we could come to an agreement. I appreciate Mr. Rudd's flexibility and commitment to becoming a good neighbor in the future, and it's shown that he's willing to the community reasonably. So I hope that the Planning Commission will vote a yes to recommend the PUD to the BOMA with the condition of the removal of the road as Mr. Rudd had mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bird.
Hi, I'm John Patzimis. Could you put that? I'm John Patzimis, 388 Ledford Mill Road, and I just want to say a couple of things. Is when we first found out about the Ledford Mill project, or dog leg on his thing, it's on the top part right there, it's coming all the way out to Ledford Mill Road. The citizens of Ledford Mill Road were very concerned about the loss of our rural character that we have and the changes in the proposals. And our questions were, why such a big subdivision? Can Tullahoma handle this? Should Tullahoma allow something like this to happen? Originally, we said no, because we had several concerns. The concerns were the school district. Can the schools afford to handle this influx? 2, first responders. Are they able to safely take care of the growth? And 3rd, what is the effect on Ledford Mill Road of this project? Then we heard from the county commissioner, Lynn Seaborn, last Thursday, and were informed about the multi-billion-dollar growth of the base, and of course the big factory that's coming up in Manchester that will have, 2,000 to 3,000 jobs, going up to 5,000 jobs. So also then we heard from Mr. Trent, the real estate attorney, who told us about all things I didn't quite understand, and I'm sure you understood it, but I didn't understand it. About probably the only one that understood it was you and Mr. Warsham, about TIF and other financial incentives for the city to have this growth. So that was, I think, very eye-opening to us. It was a very complex presentation from him, but that was important to address the first 2 issues, that of school and roads, and the first responders. But what about Ledford Mill Road? The citizens were a little concerned about the traffic and all the other issues that poor Ledford Mill Road has to suffer through, because right now it's just not able to handle that. So we spent a lot of time talking amongst ourselves, and as my fellow residents said, we got the petition going, and then once we had all the information and concerns, we called Mr. Rudd and spoke to him directly. And he spent a lot of time with us on a conference call on a Saturday and a Sunday, and that's always my litmus test of how well someone is interested in talking to you. If he talks to you on a Saturday or Sunday, he's interested. If he doesn't talk to you on a Saturday or Sunday, he doesn't give a damn. Well, he talked to me for Sunday and Saturday, and we spent a lot of time with him. And so we talked about our concerns, and we're worried about our neighborhood and our, basically, our lifestyle in a rural or semi-rural area. And we talked to him about that little finger that's no longer there, that little finger, and he said he's willing to make the change. It's a big change to cut that off and not have any further growth than outside of what's shown right there.
Sir, your time's expired. It's like...
Well, can I just finish real quick, super quick? It's real important.
Yes.
Okay? So we brought this to the attention of our fellow co-signers of the petition, and they all agreed to say it's okay for us to move on with this thing. So all the signatories of petition have basically adjusted and wish him luck in growing, and the positive feedback that he gave us helped us make the decision, so we all support the growth. Let me just give you my 2 cents. I think that with your collective wisdom that you have now, and the 1,500 homes that are going in now, you might want to consider a moratorium on any further subdivisions in Tullahoma until we get our feet stable and everything is addressed in terms of schools, first responders, et cetera. And we support the project and future growth.
Thank you, Dr. Pattins. All right. Anyone else would like to come speak?
I'm Denise Chiquinas, 104 Garland Crest Court North, Tullahoma. I've heard nothing but great things about the builder. This has nothing to do with that. My opinion has to do more with everything else that this would involve. So, first of all, last week the lawyer presented information, but on more than one occasion he stated that he did not have anything to do with the numbers that were presented, but to specifically be here to tell us about the TIF. Believing in numbers that are 20 years out based on research we don't even really know where it came from is not a prudent way to make decisions. I also think we don't have a good answer about additional phases of construction, if it's terminated, and how it will affect the whole project and the TIF and the infrastructure we began up to that point. There's nothing to suggest that any of these houses would be under $300,000 to help first-time buyers. It's my understanding that they would be priced quite a bit higher. There is a brand-new housing development in Shelbyville just 10 minutes down the road from the proposed site. This is going to add a lot of additional traffic, in addition to the 10% plus increase from the 2 new developments in the city limits. All the traffic that is heading towards the Air Force Base and is going to create so much congestion down Jackson, wouldn't it be better on 55 where there is so much more open land and nowhere near as much traffic? Because we build does not mean that Manchester won't do the same, and why would anyone want to spend 40 minutes in traffic when they can get there in 15 to 20 minutes? Why not leave it to the county? We still benefit from the taxes and services. We already have so much to offer as far as where to shop that no matter if it's Shelbyville Development or Manchester, we will still benefit without all the additional traffic. Being a rural area is what makes Tullahoma special. Nashville, Murfreesboro, and Franklin have all created an unbearable amount of traffic, increased crime rates, and a whole bunch of aggravation for its citizens because of growing so fast without thinking through the consequences. I feel this might be the case in this situation. There is nowhere to add additional lanes if we need it. It's not just one school that would have to be built. It would be a grammar school, a middle school, and a high school, combined with the fact that there is a huge teacher shortage already. Look at the fact that we already have a steady traffic, which is what makes our town so successful. Why not find a way to make our downtown area something beautiful where people will want to walk around and eat and shop like they did in Winchester? I don't think like a project like this should be influenced.
Your time's expired.
Excuse me?
Thank you, your time has expired. All right, anyone else? Anyone else from the general public? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to the reports from staff. Mr. Rush.
Yes, thank you. The TIF, just to kind of answer that, the TIF will be reviewed by BOMA and staff, and then we'll go to the city for approval and also for the county. I think the applicant's earned a lot of goodwill working with the citizens of Ledford Mill. He's adjusted any kind of concerns that they've had. So staff recommends this in a favorable recommendation for rezoning for the PMU project called Summerlin to BOMA with the following conditions. The applicant, Chris Rudd, will meet with the fire department to determine a location for a future fire station. The applicant will provide land either at Summerlin location or will buy land that the Tullahoma Fire Department has indicated as a suitable place for a fire station and contribute. This condition must be met before any preliminary plats are brought before the Planning Commission. Number 2, the applicant will conduct a traffic study immediately following the rezoning approval as a PMU. The City of Tullahoma and its departments will review and approve any tax incremental financing TIF. And number 4, the development phase, which includes the 320 apartments and retail development, will be presented to the Planning Commission for feedback on design and beautification. The staff recommendations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to send a favorable recommendation for the rezoning. Or do I need to finish that?
So hang on, is it subject to?
Oh, yes, subject to the following conditions.
Okay. All right. Second. All right, so we got a motion, and you, to Mr. Rush's favorable conditions here, which are on paper in front of me, and in a second. All right. Discussion. Mr. Hall, is your motion? You may go first.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, on the conditions, one question I had is on number 3. Does that need to include and county, or is that just a given?
That's just kind of a giving.
Okay, just want to make sure. And then the number 5, do we need to put the removal of the finger, or is that part of this?
That's already part of this, is how you're accepting it. So
Okay.
that will be included in my recommendation to the BOMA and everything else, the
Okay.
update packet and everything.
Just wanted to make sure.
Mr. Towers?
Okay, yeah, this looks really good. I would like to include as a condition that is my opinion, that it is my opinion, I'm welcome for the commissioners to comment, that the apartments would be mainly brick. I think we discussed this on the last time around. You thought that was typically what you would do. This is going to be seen as the first thing that people come into town. We want it to look really good. So that would be a condition I would like to add. I think the BOMA can decide not to accept that. Is that right?
I mean, you may make a motion to suggest that. And
Yes, and then we'll vote on it? Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to make that motion,
What is your motion?
that the apartments will be mainly brick as a condition.
So,
I think we should put like a percentage on it, maybe 75% brick and 25% other masonry products.
so
Can we ask what the plan is first? Or just,
Yeah, can you answer that, sir? How you thought that would look?
I'm happy to. I think we would prefer, I mean, we're happy to incorporate brick. I think we'd prefer to have a little bit more flexibility with the design than to say 100% brick or even 75. I mean, I think we'd be okay with 50%, but I think we're going to need flexibility on that design probably. We're okay to say, to exclude things like vinyl or whatever else. It probably would be cement fiber products, so any type of mason, I think that could still qualify under masonry.
Okay.
But as opposed to 100% or 75 brick, I think we'd like to keep it at probably 50.
Okay.
But I think I think one of the other conditions is that we come back to discuss that design. So we're happy to bring that, and we'll be sure to make it attractive. But I think if we can have the architectural flexibility there, it will probably generate a better product.
is that the plan?
Yes, that's cement fiber, hardy plank siding. Yes.
That's not 50% though.
That's not brick. So there would be brick. We're willing to incorporate brick into the design, but just not all
Stone, I
brick.
mean, stone, the mason, some stone or brick, either one.
Understood.
But it looks like that's mostly siding.
Correct.
Rather than being 50/50 is the way it appears in the picture. I'm okay with 50/50.
You're correct.
Yeah.
So
say masonry?
100% masonry
Yeah,
products.
As you suggested, masonry, cementous fiber, I can't pronounce that.
Cement fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
50%. So
50% has to be stone or brick.
brick, yep.
And the other 50%
That
can
would
be
be
a fiber
That
cement.
would be my first condition, yes.
In addition to the other.
Yes.
Yeah, this is in addition to the additions that are already on there.
And while I'm up here, I may ask you for one qualifier. I think it's on condition number 1 for the fire department. We've obviously had some talks with the fire department representatives, and we're happy to do that. I think I'd like to put a qualifier on there. If land at our project doesn't work, which we talked to the fire department representative about, he was thinking maybe somewhere further south would be a better location for the fire department, and obviously we want him to put it where he thinks it's best. But I'd like to put a qualifier in there if we can, that we would acquire land of similar value, such that we're not,
Outrageous prices.
yeah,
right.
just not unlimited, Right, if we can qualify that as similar value, I think we're very, very happy to do that.
okay, let's start, okay, thank you. So, motion for the apartments, that the design restrictions on the apartments will be 50% stone or brick and 100% of masonry products. Is that correct?
How did you word it? I thought you said 50%
50%
brick
stone.
and 50% the cementous.
Fiber cement.
Fiber, whatever. I can't get that one out.
Well,
Cement, yeah.
kind of my point is like at least 50% stone or brick.
Yeah.
And the
other
remaining
has to be
is
masonry products still.
Okay.
Yeah, not
But that's probably the best way to work it.
Yeah.
They can use more 50% if they want to of the stone/brick, but it has to be a minimum of 50%. The rest of it has to be a masonry product.
So that's
I like his motion then.
I don't care. Is it your motion?
I like what he
All
said.
right, and then you got a second. All right.
Did it very well.
And discussion on this. And
I would have a comment that the marketplace needs to be considered, because when you start imposing certain design requirements, architectural standards, it's going to drive the price of the people who are going to occupy these apartments. And one of the things we're trying to do is get some affordable housing. And I don't want to see us drive the cost of the housing by designing these apartments for the developer. I think the developer has been in this business long enough to know that, hey, if I design a good product, will satisfy the community. If we try to design it for him, we may be shooting ourselves in the foot because of the costs associated with additional. You might ask the developer to comment on how much cost we're considering, what is the rental delta for what we're imposing here versus what you would do otherwise.
Mayor, I think it's a good question. I think I'm not prepared to tell you in this moment exactly what masonry would do to the rent cost, but there is also no doubt that it will get passed along in terms of rental rate. So, I mean, it's just I could tell you something different, but that wouldn't be honest. I mean, the reality of the situation is that cost gets translated down line, so, that it will pass through, certainly. So what does that mean? I don't know. 15, 20 cents a square foot.
You would say that if we tell you it's got to be 50% stone or brick and the rest of it masonry products, it would cost more.
Yes, to that project, it will add a few $100,000 of cost.
A few $100,000.
Which will get passed along.
How much were you planning on masonry? You said originally you were going to a mixture. How much were you planning on?
I think where we were talking about the mixture was on in the for sale side. Usually in our multifamily, with inflation where it is now, we're doing everything we can to control costs because costs are just completely out of control, quite frankly. So on this type of multifamily product, it would usually be substantially cement fiber siding. Now, on single-family homes, that changes. And I think that was my reference in our last discussion, is on the single-family side, it would be heavily brick. Now, it is something we're willing to do. We think the market can support it on the multifamily side, but again, no secret, it will certainly drive rental rate up a little bit.
So what I heard there was either way, you were going to use masonry products. It's just whether we require more brick than.
I'd like to withdraw my motion on that topic then. Based on what I'm hearing, I think that's, cost, like you say, cost to the people that are wanting to rent it, we want to try not to do that. I want it to look good, but I think you'll make it look good anyway, but I think I'm going to withdraw my motion for that.
Do we want to, though, put another stipulation of they just have to be a masonry product in general?
I think it's already on there. It's already on there.
Was that already on there?
That was in the original comments, yes.
Okay, if that's already in there, then that's. I did not see that.
It couldn't hurt to put it in there. I'm not finding it.
I mean, that's
I see where it's in the.
instead of using like an engineered lumber or a vinyl, which he pretty much said he would be willing to do anyways, it sounds like masonry products would be their choice. Well, I think you would want to exclude engineered lumbers, but it's for fire rating issue as much as a visibility thing. I'll make a motion to have a requirement of 100% of masonry products used on the exterior.
I think that's right here. Well, it said in the townhomes it was masonry and doors. But it didn't say it on the apartments, yeah.
So we'll just.
So does masonry include stone?
Stone, any kind of fiber cement, anything stone, brick, anything not, not a wood or a vinyl or anything like that. That's what that encompasses. Okay.
A motion from Mr. Rice to the apartments, multifamily housing is going to be comprised of a majority or 100%?
100% masonry product.
100% masonry products.
On the exterior of the home, obviously.
Does it need to be like 90 or like to give a little leeway or for
In a second.
I was just talking, sorry.
Second. All right, second from Mr. Sellers. All right, discussion.
I just didn't know if it needed to be like 9 or not quite 100 in case there needed to be a little leeway on.
That was my thinking. But.
Whatever, I don't know.
I don't. Yes.
I think we would appreciate that. One example might be a porch ceiling.
Yeah.
That would be tongue and groove pine or spruce versus, where it's undercover. I think in a weather exposed element, yes, but, our windows will not be cement fiber, obviously. They'll be vinyl. So I think if we could have some 10% flexibility there would be appreciated just in the event.
Would you say the veneer of the siding of the home has to be a masonry product instead of, not the exterior? Obviously, the roof is not going to be.
Right.
Or we can just leave it be.
I think the recommendation would be that the construction type of the apartments is wood frame with masonry or cementous fiber veneer.
There you go.
And then
Veneer.
leave it at that, because that's what they've agreed to with the townhomes. Is that?
We're good with that.
Okay, all right, so
if we can change the amendment to a veneer instead of the exterior.
let's just withdraw that and start a new one.
Okay, withdraw the motion, make a new motion where it's 100% masonry product as a veneer with wood framing with a masonry veneer.
Well, we don't know if the building will be wood frame. They could be using the metal.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
That's why I started out with just the veneer. We're just focusing on the veneer, so it's just a veneer as a masonry product. Do we have a second? A second.
all right, second, Mr. Sellers. Any more discussion? I think I'm good with that. I'm with Mayor Noah's here, is that I feel like we're kind of driving decisions that need not be driven. I think that will be in kind with the rest of the neighborhood and not going to be a eyesore, just based on the overall product. But at the same time, I don't think we're putting any additional real restrictions here. So,
In my opinion, we've got enough commitment from this developer to be sure that he's going to build a quality product that the city will be proud of, that they can afford.
all right, well, call the vote on this amendment. The amendment to restrict the veneer of the apartments to masonry or cementous fiber. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. Motion fails, 3-2. Motion fails, two ayes to 3 nays. And then you got it. Okay. All right, moving on. Back to the original motion. There was some discussion about the fire department. Any comments there?
Yeah. Or did you want to speak at all? Or
But do we want to leave, we kind of left off with Mr. Sellers, we were going around.
Okay.
I withdrew my motion.
So you don't have any more comments as of right now?
I was going to ask about border with the green screen, but I'm not sure if that applies now since you took the leg off. But are you going to try to leave trees around your property anyway?
We are.
Okay, thank you.
do you want to?
Yeah, we can keep going around.
The evergreens was the only other thing, trees we talked about in our study session, it seems like maybe we just want to leave it. We have somewhat of a verbal commitment there, so we'll probably just leave that be.
All right. Mayor knows.
I agree.
All right.
So besides the conditions, I still have a little bit of concern. After we had the proposal the other night on the TIF, and I tried to study that more, I wish we had our city, what is Jason's position called again?
City
Administrator here. I'm curious about what our departments have said about the taxes that they talk about coming in as a result of this development. and how that's going to impact our budgets as far as if we have to add a fire department, which was estimated at like about $7 million, if we have to add school rooms, how is that going to be paid for? Is it going to be paid for through tax increase to the citizens, through bonds, or do we think that there's going to be enough tax revenue besides what's needed for sustaining all the additional firemen, police, teachers? Do we think there's going to be enough tax money here to cover the cost for these places? Because as I understood the other night, the TIF cannot be used to fund the fire hall, extra school rooms, fire equipment, extra police cars. So that's going to have to come out of our budget. And I just wondered if you all have discussed this as the finance leaders for our city.
Other than saying that the tax increment financing would be going toward infrastructure, and infrastructure can be fairly broad. I did not hear that we couldn't use it to.
Well, I specifically asked the gentleman that question. He said you cannot use it for building a fire hall. Because that's where I'm concerned about is that I see a lot of revenue, but a lot of it's going to have to go for sustainable things that we have to keep funding. But there are going to be the cost to the citizens of Tullahoma, such as to build a new fire hall.
Okay, those numbers were presented in the sales tax increase. Would go a long way for. The numbers were presented, I don't have them in front of me now, but certainly there was no objection to this because of a lack of ability to fund it.
Okay, I guess that's where my concern was, is that, that our city has looked at this and it's not going to be incurring a burden on the citizens for the addition of this facility out here, that now everybody else is going to have to pay more taxes because of that.
That's exactly what I heard, is that they are not going to have to pay more taxes because of this. In fact, it's quite the contrary. It's going to be a windfall to the city to have this. So we welcome them.
Well, I just wanted to know that you all have talked about this and you feel comfortable with that. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
I would definitely like to think that the tax rate of a development would be sustainable. Like if you're adding in more stuff, but I mean the city's going to take in the appropriate taxes from the new development to sustain its impact. If that doesn't work, then I'd say the city is in trouble in general. But I do think that this has more of a return on investment potential than some of the lower density R1 developments that we're doing and stuff like that. So if we keep adding those, I think those are harder on the city budget than necessarily this, as it brings in and I don't know, Mr. Rush may be able to help me out here, but I think that I'm fairly confident that current research says that this has a higher multi-use development has a higher return on investment for city tax bases and stuff.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is better than its equivalent land area in R1 for sure. One thing about the fire station that I did notice is that from the looks of this map here, we need a new fire station anyway. I don't know, I guess we're kind of trying to drive something out of this.
Yeah, the fire departments are actually talking about adding an additional fire station, so that's why you can't put all the burden on this developer, because we were already needing it.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, that's all of the development. Yeah, the map is dismal for the. Okay. And another thing about the fire station is that one thing in the motion essentially is I think that the applicant. It says we'll provide the land, but I think that the land needs to be identified by by the fire department as a suitable location for a fire hall before we, I don't think we should be letting the applicant select the land, but I don't know, is there any opinions on that?
I think that's where he's trying to go with
On number one.
acquire similar value land.
Okay.
So if that's not the ideal place, then the fire department will dictate that, and then they'll work together to find somewhere.
Okay.
Is what it seemed to me.
All right. Do we want to make a motion to put that in there, in the words? That's the land of similar value.
I mean,
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I don't know if I'm making that motion, or am I making that motion? Okay, yes. On the second sentence on number 1, it'll put in after, let's see, will buy land, after will buy land of similar value. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Tullahoma Fire Department has indicated it's a suitable place for a fire station and contribute land of similar value.
Will buy land of similar value, okay.
All right, and second on that? Second from Mr. Sellers. Any further discussion on that? All right, we'll vote on that amendment. All in favor of the text amendment to add land of similar value to the second sentence of item number 1? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, any further discussion on the development itself? If not, I'll call the vote. All in favor of sending a favorable recommendation of the rezoning of the PMU project called Summerlin to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen under the following 4 considerations with the amendment there. Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, hearing none. Motion passes. Send a favorable recommendation to the mayor, to the BOMA, 5-0. Good. All right. Moving on. All right. Items under new business, subdivision plats, public hearing. Roberts Fairview School minor subdivision, a plat to create of 2 lots on 5 acres at 258 Fairview School Road. The applicant is Mr. Chris Bateman. I'd invite the applicant to come forward at this time.
Chris Bateman, 521 Woosley Road, Tullahoma, Tennessee. I'm the surveyor on the property, and it's just a minor division of cutting off a few acres out of 5, with the real problem being obtaining permits with TDEC.
Yes.
But other than that, it was basically simple subdivision.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you've been waiting on a TDEC for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right, this is the public hearing, so at this time, I'd like to invite anyone from the public that wants to speak on the Roberts Fairview School minor subdivision to come forward at this time. Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Unless we have questions for you, we'll call you back. All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'll move on to staff report. Mr. Rush.
Yes, thank you. All right, we're creating 2 lots in the UGB zoned RS-1, 5 acres. Lot 1 already has a septic and a single-family dwelling house. It's 1.2 acres. It's going to have 230 foot of road frontage. Lot 2 is TDEC approved now. It'll be 3.8 acres, 339 foot of road frontage. Both lots meet zoning requirements. Water's TUA, electric's Duck River. Staff recommends to approve with DAC comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Comments or? So the engineer has a comment and the UGB. All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
All right, motion for Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Sellers. Discussion? I'm glad to see this one come off finally, because it's...
Me too.
It's been on here for at least 6 months, I think.
Before me, actually.
Okay. All right, well, all in favor of approval with staff comments? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so motion to accept with staff comments, 5-0. Item number 2, the Crux minor subdivision, a plan to create 2 lots from an existing 0.37 acre lot located at 911 Maplewood Avenue. The applicant is Marco Cruz.
Cruz.
I'm sorry. Cruz, that's it.
I'm Chris Bateman, again, the surveyor, and this is one that we're just dividing a 100-foot lot in half to create 2 50-foot lots.
All right. Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing, so anyone would like to come forward and speak on this, please do. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move on to staff report. Mr. Rush.
Yes, thank you. We're creating 2 lots from existing .37 acres, 8,000 square foot, 50-foot road frontage for both these. Location is 911 Maplewood Avenue, zoned R3, which is high-density residential. Utilities are TUA, and it meets all zoning and subdivision requirements. Also to note that I have actually included the draft 1 with everybody's comments of the plat, so you guys can kind of review it, and those will be standard coming up. And then also he's got draft 2 that have the comments for that plat. And so that's just kind of what we go through the process.
All right, thank you. Yes, I actually noticed you included a little bit more detailed notes on the from the advisory committee too. So thanks for that. All right, motion.
Motion to approve with staff comments.
All right, got a motion. Second for Mr. Sellers. Any discussion?
A question. Almost those lots are 50-foot wide lots? Yes. What is the minimum lot width for that zone?
50 foot. For single family, it's 50 foot. So it meets the requirements. The road frontage.
It meets the minimum.
Yeah.
MTZ.
It's at the minimum. It's R3.
How is it zoned again?
R3.
R3, 50 foot, okay. So R1. No further comment.
Anything else? All right, call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Item number 3 is the Rutledge Crossing Major Subdivision Final Plat. It has been, it is not ready to be brought forth, so it would, I don't know.
Correct. There was what is it, for the construction, neither Coffee County nor, Tullahoma have actually reviewed that. It's supposed to be Coffee County. They thought it was us, so there's some miscommunication there. So we're withdrawing that until we actually get construction A-OK on that.
Okay, so item number 3 has been withdrawn, so we'll move on like that, because we don't want to have it lingering. All right, under new business B, site plan review tower, public hearing, Vogue Towers, Lemon Lane has also been withdrawn, so we'll move on from there. New business C, zoning map amendment, public hearing, zoning map amendment number 278, request to rezone the property located along South Anderson Street, Coffee County, I'm not reading that, South Anderson Street from general commercial C2 to neighborhood commercial district C3. The applicant is the Hart and Family Partners with Joe Lester. I'd like to invite Mr. Lester to come forward and speak on this project.
Joe Lester, Hart and Realty. In light of all things taking place in our great city, the county, with the possibilities of a mega site, with the growth in Manchester and Tullahoma, I think the request that we're making tonight to go from C2 to C3 and the project we would like to put on that property, I think will merit itself. Had a young couple, Amanda and Dwayne Henderson, approach us several months ago about a daycare center to take care of up to 100 children. With the growth of the ADC, this was the location that we looked at. We all agreed on it. C2 won't accommodate it. I've got to go to C3. So our request tonight is to ask you all if we can rezone that property from C2 to C3. Just FYI, the 24.7 acres is the 19 acres in the first tract Can you put that up on the board? When you go past the Kia dealership and turn left like you're going to ADC, the first piece is 19 acres. The second piece where Kilgore Funeral Home is I think it's 5.7, but the two together make up 24.7 acres. 80% of the property has been deemed a wetland, so it's non-usable anyway. So what's left is 4 or 5 acres. This is a perfect, I think, fit for that property on Mitchell Boulevard facing Kilgore Funeral Home, and that is our request tonight, and I'll take any questions. But before I do, I'd like to bring Amanda and Dwayne Henderson to the podium to let them tell you what they have in plans to do, and I want you to meet them. So, Amanda, Dwayne, come.
Good evening. I'm Dwayne Henderson. This is my wife, Amanda. We're excited for this project here for the city of Tullahoma. To give you a little background about ourselves, we moved here to Tennessee in 2021. I retired from the Air Force from up in North Pole, Alaska. I was stationed at Allison Air Force Base. Up there, we did run a child care facility. We were licensed for up to 72 children. During that time frame, we had 72 children the whole time, even through COVID. So we're excited to get this hopefully up and running within the city of Tullahoma. It's going to be just under 5,000 square feet, 99 children, and it's definitely a huge need, not only in the city of Tullahoma, but within the United States of America. So with that said, thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name again? I'm sorry.
My name's Dwayne Henderson.
All right, thanks, Dwayne. Welcome to Tullahoma, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
The last thing, I think this is very needed here in Tullahoma, and I hope you see fit to honor my request. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, so when I read this, it appears that you're going to put townhomes around on each side of the Kilgore Funeral Home, is that right? In Project 1, those are townhomes?
Hadn't got that far yet.
That's the next one.
Possibility, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess I looked at the property. I'm a little concerned about along the next to the large industrial area there, where that used to be the landing gear place.
Yeah, we haven't got it laid out with the surveyor yet, but
it looks like there's a lot of swampy area in there too.
There is some adjacent to the new industry that on Mitchell Boulevard. There's some there. We've lost some land there. Now, I was up here several months ago about a gated community apartment complex, possibly 3 of them in Tullahoma. The first one we talked about on Cedar Lane. We've run into some issues out there with the sewer line and the water line. But the other 2 locations, that being one of them behind Kilgore Funeral Home. So we're not quite ready, but we're getting close.
Okay.
I hope I can come back and present it to you in the future.
All right.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Lester.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Is there no way that anything can be done with that wetland area? Like, I remember Mary talking about a trade-off with other land. It would really be great if we could do something in there for people coming into town.
It can be very
rather than those trees. I'm worried about those trees eventually coming over the road, so it's just...
Don't get me started.
I wish
please
there was something we could do.
Please don't get me started. When they came in several years ago to announce to us that 75% of the land was a wetland, my comment to them was, well, when you built the road and put the curve of the road, you built a dam and caused my land to be wetland.
Yeah.
But they now say it's an environmental wetland with endangered species and plants on your property. They say I've got endangered plants and trees on my property. Well, Eagle Scout Lester raised his hand and said, tell me what trees are endangered trees on my property, and they couldn't answer my question.
Yeah.
So we're fighting that. I don't want to go into that tonight.
Let's move on,
we're here
please.
for a zone change to get this done.
I'm hoping that you can figure out a way to get that, because it's surely not a place to...
Can't tell me what trees are endangered.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Anything else?
No, thank you. That's more than enough. All right. All right. This is a public hearing, so at this time I'd like to open up this to the public for anyone who'd like to come forward. Sir, you're recognized. Please state your name and your address, and you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm Brian Hirsch with CRM. We have the building at 201 Mitchell Boulevard, as you mentioned, the old landing gear place. We are somewhat concerned, the property between us and the Kilgore. I have no problem with the daycare. I am curious as far as residential, and maybe this will come later. I'm mostly concerned if residential backs up to our property line, because, we operate at all hours of the day and evening and nighttime. So I don't know if we're at that point yet.
Doesn't sound like it yet.
No, I mean, this is for rezoning, definitely worth your comments for sure
why I'm
here. But again, I think that's probably a little farther down the road. If this was to get rezoned, then we would talk through what that looks
For
like.
the record, yeah, we'd like to look at that when that comes about, whatever the proper venue is for that. And once again, I'm all for the daycare.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, I'll close the public hearing and move on to the staff report. Mr. Rush?
Yes, it's rezoning from C2 to C3. It's 24.7 acres. Currently, it's C2. The future is Industrial 1. It's across Forest Boulevard, which has R3 zone. It's got heavy wetlands most of the area, and it's currently seen as unbuildable. He's planning townhomes across Forest and a daycare along Mitchell, which is going to be about 5,400 square foot. Staff recommends it's in favorable.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion?
Motion to send favorable recommendation to Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
All right, you got a motion, Mr. Hall? Second? Second from Mayor Noes. Discussion on this? All right, I'll just add that, we were here last Wednesday and heard Mr. Seaborn speak on the needs of what's the growing, trying to keep a reasonable workforce in the city and keeping childcare and things. So this is definitely in step with that. And I appreciate. Get cut off. And I definitely appreciate the efforts to help out people, because I do know that finding childcare is a difficult thing. It's not something I have to deal with, and I'm fortunate for that. So anyway, with that, I think I'll call a vote. All in favor of sending favorable recommendation to Boma? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on, Section D, zoning text amendment, public hearing. Zoning text amendment 234. Staff was instructed per BOZA meeting on 8/21 to address issues with setbacks referring to R1, R2, and R3A. I'm sorry, just R3. A change to allow accessory structures to match side yard setbacks for a dwelling structure for properties R1, R2, and R3. This is Mr. Rush, and I will turn it over to him for a staff report.
Yes, thank you. So as per our last BOZA meeting, we're just going to reflect those actually setbacks for the structure in R1, R2, and R3. Those side setbacks will become your side setbacks for your accessory structures and also your rear structures. The only text change that has been made is, C, B, shall reflect the side yard setback of the residential principal structures per table TZ1 in the following zoning districts, R1, R2, and R3. R3 multifamily accessory structures shall have a minimum 10-foot side yard setback requirement. All of the residential structures not located in R1, R2, and R3 shall not be located closer than 10 foot from any side or rear lot line. The rear yard setback will match the side yard setback requirements mentioned above in the same districts. This change will allow for more room for accessory structures.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. This public hearing. Anyone wants to speak on this? Come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move to a motion. Motion?
Motion to approve with staff comments.
Second.
All right, you got a motion, Mr. Rice, and a second from Mr. Hall. Any discussion on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? All right, 5-0. Send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. All right, and with that, that's the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Nope, BOZA.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we're still, the planning commission is adjourned. That's what you're not wrong. All right, and we'll call to order the City of Tullahoma Board of Zoning Appeals, the meeting agenda. read and approve the minutes from the August 21st, 2023 meeting. And I will entertain a motion on the approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, and second? Second from Mr. Sellers. All in favor of, aye? Aye. Opposed? And abstained? All right, motion, the minutes accept the minutes 5-0. New business, variance 233, to reduce the 10-foot setback line to a requirement to 1 foot to allow for proposed dual canopy and dumpster relocation due to the proposed drive-through improvement. Applicant is Chick-fil-A. I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward at this time.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Gonzalez, Charlotte, North Carolina. I am here, I'm the engineer of record representing Chick-fil-A and working on the project. Today we're requesting to reduce the 10-foot side setback line to 1 foot to allow for the installation of the new proposed dual canopy and the dumpster relocation. This is being requesting to allow for the construction of a second drive-through lane, which should allow for the improvements of the site. I'm here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right, it's a public hearing, so I'll open public hearing at this time for comments. And seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move to Mr. Rush.
The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the 10-foot building setback line requirement to 1 to allow the proposed dual canopy and dumpster relocation due to the proposed drive-through improvements. For your planning consideration, Chick-fil-A building included 2 existing canopies, 100 square foot, and they were constructed in 2013. The site plan that indicated the 2 drive-through canopies in the front yard setback was approved by the Planning Commission. In 2012, Chick-fil-A by itself is a business model for drive-through restaurants. It's common business practice to have a canopy over the drive-through and for that canopy to actually continue. So based on those findings, staff recommends to approve the variance request.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Mr. Hall, second from Mr. Sellers. Any discussion on this? All right.
This won't take too long.
He should be pretty quick.
My real question was, I thought they just did this like 2 years ago.
They only added the second lane on the front, on the side and the rear back.
So, you know,
It
it
goes from
doesn't
2 to 1.
merge.
Yeah,
It's
it
full
doesn't merge.
around
It's
now, so
actually
it should.
2 real lanes.
Yeah, right now we're proposing a second drive-through lane
Okay.
adjacent to Burger King.
I sat here like 2000, what? I don't know, radio, I don't know if you remember, but we did the exact same thing, like it seemed, but anyway, I never used to drive through, so I'm not too.
All the time.
Anyway, I'll call the vote. All in favor of variance approval? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we are adjourned as well. So, and have a good night, and we will see you guys on October 2nd.
Good to see you. That's a good deal for all.